Shooting stars never stop. Shooting stars never stop. There goes a supernova. What a pushover.
Shooting stars never stop, even when they reach the top. Shooting stars never stop, even when they reach the top. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Shooting stars never stop, even when they reach the top. Shooting stars never stop, even when they reach the top. There goes a supernova, what a pushover. There goes a supernova, what a pushover.
Everybody, welcome to another Comic Talk, and today it's going to be a really great session. We're going to be going through a bunch of different keys that, and not really keys, but talking more about the DC universe and what's going on with Silver Age in DC, and how that's an opportunity and a hidden treasure for many of you out there. If you've been struggling with the Marvel, the prices that Marvel has been demanding, and even some of the newer independents, like Somebody's Killing the Children and other series that have been getting incredibly hot over the last, I would say maybe couple of years, and you want to change a pace, here's what I can tell you. DC is the undiscovered country. So before we get to showing the DC comics that are in my collection, let me bring up the one I just sold. Okay, so, as I said, DC is really the undiscovered country of Silver Age, in my opinion. There are a lot of people chase after the Batman issues, Joker issues, and some select items, but there's so much depth in DC that has not yet been explored. And I've been seeing interest because for the longest time, I would see some movement in some of the things I would try to sell. But over the last 2 years, the increased interest in Silver Age DC has been evident. Recently, I sold a Hawkman #1. All of these were CGC. I haven't tried really selling Raws. And just a couple days ago, I think maybe yesterday, I sold an iconic Plastic Man #1. This is the first appearance since the Golden Age. I'm going to tell you guys, this is this is a key, like any key. Any Marvel key that you guys are thinking of buying or anything like that, well, this is just as good of a key. The difference is the market hasn't caught up to them. That's my opinion. I think the market is beginning to look at them. I just sold this for just about $300. 7.5, #1, first appearance in the Silver Age. That's tough to find, especially an iconic figure like Plastic Man. Plastic Man goes all the way back to the Golden Age. And I'll tell you that when I did sell it, I actually had forgotten it was out there. And then somebody made an offer. It had been getting relisted automatically, and I possibly relisted it several times, just automatically, because I usually have about 100 comics out in the market, and this was one of the few that I had that I thought was a very iconic key that I wasn't sure if I really wanted to sell it or not, but it's not in my vision for what I'm trying to collect now, which is mostly Golden Age, right? Like I have Plastic Man from the Golden Age, and I'm keeping those. So I decided to put this one out there, and then somebody made me an offer. So when they made me an offer, they really tried to lowball, and I said, "No, I'm not going to take that offer, but I wonder if something's going on." Because it happened to me with the Fist of Khonshu and Moon Knight. I had it out there for $5, and suddenly the news broke that the character was going to be in the show, and the sales went crazy, and I ended up selling it close to $140. So I wasn't sure if something was happening, and I went and I checked, and I did see that I was probably $100 under market price, maybe at least $60 to $80. So I definitely didn't want to go under the original number, but I had put make an offer. Felt bad that I wasn't gonna entertain a counter offer. If not, why even put make an offer? And it was already checked on the box. So I went back and I sent an offer and I said, look, I'll take X amount of money, but be warned, I really don't. My intentions is to increase the price of this book by almost $100, and I'm gonna do it. But you will always be able to give me the offer, and I'll accept it if you go back to the original price or something else that's much closer. I sent it, and within a few minutes, I got the offer. Because it's true, I did go and I reset the price about almost $100 more, and I was gonna keep it there. I was perfectly content. Again, I don't have to sell my books. I have them out there because I want to take that money and invest it in other books, and for that, I need to make as much money as I can. So it goes right back in the hobby, guys. This isn't, I'm not using this to make a living. I have a real job that's outside of anything having to do with comics. This is, I collect as a hobby. As you all know, if you watch this channel, you know that by now. This is purely a hobby that I really have enjoyed my entire life. So anyway, I thought it was interesting that we've been seeing this, and the trends in DC getting hotter in the Silver Age is going up. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to actually show you some of the DC Silver Age that I have, so that you can appreciate actually how great DC Silver Age can be. Many people think of DC Silver Age and sometimes think of the wacky characters of the mid '60s, where Batman was kidnapped by a team of Boy Scouts and stuff like that. This is not what's out there. There's a lot of really cool stuff. And, in memory of Neal Adams, I'm also going to show one of Neal Adams' greatest runs outside of Batman, Green Arrow, Green Lantern. And the impact those comics had on the industry was phenomenal. So watch this. But before that, I also want to mention Neal Adams. I want to get into Neal Adams, and I want to talk a little bit about him, because Neal Adams was actually one of my all-time favorite artists. I know there were a lot of controversy. Neal Adams is a guy that's been in the industry for a very long time. And Neal Adams is not free of controversy himself. I don't know how many of you knew this, but he was a flat earther. He believed that I think it was either a flat earther or believed that there were like center of the earth, the hollow earth theory. There were one of those two theories he was very big on. I want to say it was the hollow earth, not so much the flat earth, but it doesn't matter. I mean, they're both fringe, and obviously, if you believe them, more power to you. But everything I've ever seen, everything I've ever read, and I read a lot of science. It's one of my hobbies. I can't even begin to tell you how ludicrous it is. But I don't want to go against anyone's feelings of what they believe in. I just want to say that personally, I don't believe in it. I know Neal Adams did, and I thought it was a shame that as he got older, he got very vocal about it, because it kind of tainted his reputation. Adams was an actual great man. When he came on to the world of comic book artistry and just commercial comic books, he quickly realized what was going on with artists, and the first people that he sought out to help. And what I mean what was going on is that there were artists that literally died penniless, even though they had had drawn some of the greatest golden age and silver age. But mostly it occurred in the golden age, because by the silver age, you had guys that were beginning to change this, specifically spearheaded by Neal Adams. But these guys died penniless. I mean, there's a story of one of the artists, and I want to say it was, I don't know if it was Kurtzman or Wally Wood. It was one of the EC artists, or Johnny Craig. I think it was Johnny Craig that died penniless because he developed Parkinson's and had to stop drawing. And once he stopped drawing, he literally had no money and was living in a shelter. And that's where he died. So these guys that have been creators and have given us amazing childhoods actually were not very well taken care of. And that was up until Neal Adams came in. And what Adams did is he started by helping Jerry and Schuster of Superman, and the Jerry Siegel and Joe Schuster of Superman, the creators. They had never been recognized by National Periodicals, which is the original name of DC Comics, because actually DC stands for Detective Comics, and it was changed to that logo based on the popularity of Batman. But originally, and even still today, I think legally, they are national periodicals. They just happen to go by the tagline DC and use it as their name and their logo, and it is theirs. So anyway, Neal Adams came into the scene in around the mid 70s and realized that these guys were literally penniless. They never received much, maybe a few $1,000s for inventing Superman, and then their checks as they worked on Superman for those years. But when the cartoons were done, they didn't get anything. When the movies were done in the 40s and 50s, the serials, they got nothing out of Superman until the first time they did get something was when the 1977 Superman with Christopher Reeves was done. That movie shows a credit to those two creators thanks to Neal Adams. And Neal Adams got them to be paid copyrights for the use of Superman in those movies. The same thing happened to many other artists because he laid the foundation to that. And today, artists own their work largely due to the work of Neal Adams. So what I wanted to say was really you saw some of his pictures at the intro, some of his artwork also, and to me, there's no describing how great he was of an artist. I know that there's many other artists that are great out there, and even in his later years, he continued to work on other areas of the medium that weren't really his characters. The characters that he was really famous for were specifically Batman, Legion of Superheroes, X-Men, and Superman. But here's an example of a more recent piece of art that he did for Walking Dead. This was something I got from him in one of the conventions. And I'll tell you that going to meet Neal Adams at a convention was an experience. The first time I met him, and because of the fact that he is literally my, I think, top 3 artists, right? I was dumbstruck when I met Neal. He signed for me that, a couple of others. I also, pictures like that, prints. And then I also got him to autograph a Batman 1000 that had just come out, I think, during that time. So it wasn't that very long ago, maybe a couple of years ago. I hadn't met him ever up until that point. So when I met him, I quickly did realize that he was a no bullshit, no nonsense kind of guy, because the first thing he told me was, oh, you like my stuff, this is great, why don't you buy something? So he was a sales guy that was not really a good sales guy, but he was very pushy when it came to selling his stuff. And, needless to say, I enjoy his stuff, so I immediately bought a few things, had him sign a few things. And, I'm happy I did, because now Neal is gone forever. And, he may have not been perfect, guys, and I know he was kind of a grouchy old man, towards the end because you go to his table and you get that kind of feedback from him. But overall, I think the guy was great. I think his artwork was phenomenal. To me, he defined Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, which is one of my favorite all time lines. Now, to everyone, he defined Batman, and there is nothing like the Batman he drew. He drew a Batman that had the detective aspect of Batman, the gothic aspect of Batman, the action aspect of Batman, thrown in with some fantastical aspects of how the cape would fly. His cape work was, bar none, the best I've ever seen on Batman. People talk about Frank Miller and that cape that he drew for Spawn and all that. That's great, guys. But I'll tell you, for me, Neal Adams, Neal Adams, Neal Adams. And now we've lost him. And hopefully, everyone will be able to appreciate what he's left behind. So now let's get going. I want to show you some of the comics that... Actually, I want to show you something that I just sold because it's really it's really related to this topic that I want to cover today. And my topic is, if you're going to collect, why are you going to collect what's expensive? Why don't you collect what's going to be expensive? And I'll tell you right now that what is going to be incrementally more expensive sooner than later is going to be the DC keys of the 1960s. So having said that, let's take a look at something I just sold, and then we'll get back and I'll show you at least one key that I think each and every one of you should go after, because this thing is going to blow up. Okay, so remember I told you about a key that I thought everybody should be getting, a key that I think is probably one of the keys that is going to escalate into the tens of thousands of dollars. It's already there. It's just going up and up and up and up. This is a key that's become incredibly famous and also hard to get, and it is a DC key. And that is, let's see if I can get a good angle here. Gosh, there we go. Sorry about that. The reflection is terrible. But anyway, so here it is. This is the first appearance of the new Batgirl. If you ever saw the original Batgirl, this issue, which is Detectives 359, published in 1967, is an actual reimagination of Batgirl that became I would say, the de facto image for Batgirl. This comic, when I got it, I think actually I bought this 6 years ago. This is origin and first appearance of Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, and then Killer Moth makes an appearance. This issue, I paid, I want to say $300 for it. It's running around $2,700. This is a DC key. If you get this in a 9.8, which is really hard to do, you're talking, I think it was $30,000 or $40,000, maybe $100,000. This is a key that is continuing to go up and up and up and up, and it's a DC key, guys. So imagine this: you can get an iconic, original, first Barbara Gordon Batgirl as a key, or you can pay for something that came out a few months ago that an artist drew that all of a sudden gets hot. I don't see how you can go wrong here. I can see how you can go really wrong with the rest. As a matter of fact, let me see if I have it here. I'm going to read you guys one of the emails I got from one of the watchers of the show, and their question was, okay, okay, feels like sometimes I may be missing out on modern keys, But with the prices, I really don't think that they will hold. So I'm not investing in them. I'm looking at a Batman Beyond 1 book close to my heart, and I think it has a good potential for the future. But I already have, and I have mentioned to him, get a Nova #1. It's probably one of the hottest comics that's going to come out of the Bronze Age. So here's the question overall. He's wondering, invest in new, invest in bronze, invest in Silver Age. What's the right answer? He thinks, or his position was, if I invest in new, I might be able to get it cheap enough that it'll quickly escalate, and then I can sell it. And if I keep it, it can only go up because everything else goes up. Eventually, right? He realizes that there's that dip. There's the hype, and then the dip to the hype. And then, the comics. And that usually what happens is a comic comes out, boom. This curve that goes up is relative to the hype, right? If it's a new movie, new book, top character, the hype will go incredibly high. And then all of a sudden you will see a dip that'll be about half the price of that incredible high, and then a slow progression that continues to increase and go back up. And you might meet that original high 5 years later, 10 years later, 20 years later. You never know. It could be a year later. Totally depends on the response to the book, the response to the character, the response to the film, and the community in general. Look, if you watch the news, you know that everybody watches the news and sees an item, and then they latch into it, and within 2 weeks, they've latched into something else and forgot the old one. Comics are the same. New comics are the same. Silver Age, now Bronze Age, is getting like that, and Golden Age is not like that. They have staying power because they're based, their value is based on the fact that they were not collected in the same way that people collect today. Every single decade, we've seen more and more collectors become more and more ingrained in getting comics, not reading them, and sticking them in a binder or sticking them in a mylar or encapsulating them. In either case, that means that if 1,000 items are produced and 1,000 people that are buying them with the intent of having it be an investment, guess what? If it is because of rarity, and rarity is based on supply and demand, so if there's 1 million people wanting something that there's 100,000 of, that's rare. If there's 100,000 people wanting something that there's 100,000 of, it is not rare. So rarity isn't age. People confuse, oh my God, it's old, therefore it's rare. No. It's old, therefore I shouldn't say it's not rare, but it's not in demand, right? There is a part of rarity that is the part of whether it's in demand or not. You can have something that's incredibly rare that nobody wants. It could be something that is just rare. A rare mineral that is useless. That can't be used in anything and nobody may want it. A rare comic book that was a one-shot created in 1910. The value of that comic, just historically may be something, but certainly not going to be like an Action #1. Not even because it's 1910 and it's before Action #1. So age, rarity, and demand kind of go in line, but they don't necessarily do. And most of the time, rarity and demand are not related. But when they are, and all three, rarity and demand, when those two meet, that's when you get your big inflection point, and that's when you can make a lot of money. And that's when you should sell a comic book, especially when when demand is there. And demand is usually driven by popularity or some event in the social zeitgeist. But again, I don't want to get too far away from the topic today, but I did want to cover the idea that just because you think you have something old doesn't mean it's valuable. Just because you think you have something rare doesn't mean it's valuable. So if you're buying new books because you're going to store them for prosperity, yes, new books are printed a lot less than modern books were in the 90s. Then the Bronze Age were printed. Even then the Silver Age were printed. And certainly then the Golden Age were printed. The difference was in the Golden Age, nobody really collected. There were a handful of collectors. That's why you find Mile High. You found Promise. You find the Gaines collection. These pedigrees are collectors from that era that actually did what everybody now does. But they were few and far between. So that's why the Golden Age is so hard to find very good quality product. Because in the Golden Age, people read these things, treated them as rags, and tossed them. And in a case of the Seduction of the Innocent, Sodi, the famous Seduction of the Innocent, they actually had book burning drives. And during World War II, they had paper drives. In both those events, millions of comic books were destroyed. If those events hadn't happened, the rarity of Golden Age would not be near as high as it is today. The only reason, for example, when people look at Fawcett and they look at Captain Marvel, and I'm really going offline here, but I think it's a good topic, and they see so many out there and the price is not that great, is because they were the greatest, highest number selling comic of their era. And that's why they're not as rare as Timely's that actually were popular during the war, but they came in and out of popularity. They weren't as stable as Superman and as Captain Marvel. And Batman. Those were the ones that ruled the Golden Age. The Timely's were almost, you can almost relate them to Image Comics. They were like the new kids on the block compared to when it came to the superheroes, compared to the others who were there before. I mean, Captain Marvel kind of came out at the same time, but Captain Marvel's popularity was unbelievable. If it ever hits the popularity it hit before now, the Captain Marvel books would surpass Action Number 1. So anyway, having said all that, my advice was I would not invest in all my investments would not be in modern. Guys, I think modern has some beautiful covers and some great stories, and definitely something you should buy. I'm not saying don't buy modern. I think if you want to make investments in modern, I still believe in Miles Morales, and I still believe in Spider-Gwen. I mean, I think those are the ones that, for me, are the ones I would chase. Yeah, I mean, I consider those the pedigree to comics that are really going to be insulated from any price variation. Captain Marvel, Kamala Khan, all those, they're not going to be crazy prices on those. Those are not going to reach $100,000 prices. Miles Morales likely won't either, but at least Miles Morales, two things with Gwen and Miles. They have the Spider-Verse movie, and it was an amazing movie, and if the second one is anything like it, it'll continue to move that mythos forward, and eventually Miles Morales will become the MCU Spider-Man. And there may not be a Peter Parker in the MCU in the future, or if there is, it'll be a multiverse thing. Anyway, having said all that, let's get back into the comics, because I think I went way beyond. So again, Batgirl. Let me show you some of the other things you might find out there if you're looking through DC Keys. I'll show you some of mine. They may not seem like much, guys, but these comics are actually all increasing in price. Jimmy Olsen, it's a great line. I mean, when I got this, I paid $36 for it. This is December 1962. This comic will probably fetch somewhere near $50, no much more than that. I just know that they're really hard to find in good condition, so I picked these up. These are all early. This is 102. The last one was Jimmy Olsen 65, so this other one's probably mid-60s. Adam and Hawkman. This is issue number 39. Some of these are Neal Adams, by the way. That's the other thing. Some of the artists. This is Kubert. This is Kubert art. Kubert was also on Hawkman #1, which I sold and I mentioned. Justice League 68. Why this one? Well, this is literally the Justice League monsters. They become monsters, each one of the Justice League members. So I got that because it had that twist to it. It's the only time they've done it. Aquaman. This is a key around, I believe it's Namorita, or his mother. That's in this issue. This is Aquaman number 40. But again, these are just I pick them up when I find them in good condition. This one is a beauty. This one, Adam Strange. The artwork is beautiful. Murphy Anderson. Him I don't know. Again, these were picked up. Joe Kubert again. This one, Adam Strange. Adam Strange is something that if they ever make an MCU movie about Adam Strange, these books will fly, because it wasn't. It was a very cool storyline. Here's another one, Dead Man. This is Neal Adams. This is an Adams issue right here. If you can pick up Neal Adams' Dead Man, do it. The story's great, and the artwork is spectacular. This is Infantimo, Batman and the Flash, Brave and the Bold, 67. Guys, I want to show you these DCs because I find that, we're missing out on some beautiful artwork and comic books. I mean, some of the best artwork in DC, in my opinion, was the Flash. I haven't started collecting those, but I've been considering it, and more recently, because every time I see one, here's Brave and the Bold 82. You see, the artwork on these is very, very nice. And they're really hard to find, guys. In good shape. Strange Adventures. This is, let's see what year. Gosh, I want to say this is like 1961. This is Strange Adventures 64. By the way, I think Adventure Comics, which is a DC line, was the first of DC's comic books and goes all the way back to 1936. And I believe it's still even being published today. Secret Six, number 5. I believe this is a Neal Adams. I'd have to check, but I'm almost sure this is a Neal Adams. I have a friend of mine who's an artist. I've mentioned him before, Al. And one of the funny things is that when we were young, we were both really into art. And I loved the way Neal Adams would do the lines on the art, because I also liked it by Alex Raymond. Alex Raymond had a very similar style. And my friend Al used to call it scratchy art. That he liked his art to be much more defined and cleaner, let's say. I liked it when you had that like shading effect. These are tough. These are tough. If you can get a hold of any of these, do it. These 80-page giants. This is Batman number 182. It's got several different stories in it, and it's just a beautiful book from that era. If you remember that era, you know. Now this one, gorgeous book. I bought this one because I love Batgirl. And I love this entire, I just love the cover. This is Detective Comics 385. Now here's the beginning of a line that Neal Adams took over afterwards. I've got a couple of issues of this line and I don't have them here. I'm sorry to say. I did search for them, but I was unable to find them. This is Green Lantern 71. And this is Gil Kane. Guys, come on. Look at the artwork here. There is no better uniform for Green Lantern than this one. It's absolutely gorgeous. And when you see what Neal Adams did with Denny O'Neil during that run, right after that issue, I think issue 74, 77, they came out with the Green Lantern, Green Arrow series. And you saw some of it in the beginning where I flashed the pictures. Those were spectacular. I mean, storyline was amazing. Artwork was incredible. Legion of Superheroes. This, guys, is a 9.8. I guarantee you this is a 9.8. Find this in a 9.8 is like finding treasure. This is 403. You can never ever find a 9.8 of this. And I am absolutely sending this one to CGC. Now this is, I think, the first Aqualad story. You see at the top where it says Green Arrow and Aquaman? I think this is when they introduced Aqualad. Now, I'm a big Crypto collector, so I actually bought this because Crypto was on the cover, and the condition was great. I want to say this could easily grade as an 8.0, if not better. Maybe not, because it is a little worn. Issue 266, with everyone's favorite dog. This comic book, I think if you watch my my channel, you've heard the story. This is the first comic book I ever bought. So I went out and searched for it, and I found it. Bought it when I was like 6. Maybe my grandmother bought it. Maybe when I was 5. This is Detectives 324. Here's another Superboy with our famous Pet Pooch. This is issue 96, and it's the Enemy Superboy. I love these. I mean, I really do. A lot of people find that the 60s DC comics were a little bit, I want to say whimsical, maybe, to use a better word. So let me show you some of the more modern ones that I believe are keys. Death number 1, The High Cost of Living. This was right after Sandman. Here's a line that I've been very surprised has not gained more momentum, because it was I think an act of love for Frank Miller, and it was his first real reach. Ronin. The artwork in here is spectacular. Ronin 1, Ronin 2, and seriously, guys, unbelievable. Ronin 3. I've had these since the day they were published. I bought these and read them, actually, with great care. So I think they're all 9.8s. Ronin 4. I think I bought these in 1979. Maybe it was 1982, somewhere around there. Ronin 5 and Ronin 6. So, I mean, that's just to show you a little bit of the stuff that's out there that's modern, and of course the ultimate modern bronze, I would say, Copper Age key, The Death of Superman. Guys, you know, they're not expensive, right? There was a time that the Marvel keys were not expensive either. You can take a shot and buy something right now that is highly expensive, or you can take a shot at these and then start thinking about what's going to happen when these go up. I'll give you an example. If this was a Marvel, this comic would be maybe $600-700 minimum without being CGC. That one, which is the first appearance of Aqualad, you might be able to get that 100, maybe 200. So like I said, if you're interested in building your collection and you want to find an undiscovered country, look at DC. Look at DC Silver Age, look at DC Copper. Golden Age is a whole nother matter, but look at DC when it comes to Silver Age, and don't focus just on Batman. I specifically tried not to make everything Batman or Superman, because I wanted everyone out there to realize there's a lot more out there, like that Secret Six. There's a ton. Teen Titans, I could have brought out some of my Teen Titans from that era. A great series. This is the Teen Titans before they became the new Teen Titans. So you can go back and get the first original appearance of the Teen Titans out of the 60s. Not that expensive. Again, look at these books. Look at for example in the new Teen Titans, I think it's number 44, that has the first appearance of Nightwing. That's a key. That's a key that's going to go up. All of these are better bets than buying a brand new comic, in my opinion. Is it 100% sure bet? Nothing is. These are comics, guys. As like some people say, this is expensive paper. This is, these are drawings that we love. And as long as someone loves it, there'll be a value to it. So anyway, that brings us to the end of our show. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Please remember to hit my like. Please remember to subscribe. And if you like what you see here, let me know. Send me a note. You'll see at the end of this video an email. You can email me directly. You can send me a comment here. And let me know what you like, what you didn't like, and we'll make sure that in the future we'll do more stuff that makes the community, that provides value to the community. Again, guys, Alex signing off from Miami. I hope you guys have a great weekend.